The galaxy was wide and bright, filled with countless ships moving between worlds. Trade routes glowed with the paths of freighters, patrol fleets kept order, and empires stretched their banners across the stars. Every race believed the balance of power was known and safe. No one expected change. No one thought of humans anymore. Long ago, records spoke of humanity as a small and restless people who had once tried to claim the stars. They had fought wars that shook entire sectors, but then they vanished. Some said they had destroyed themselves. Others claimed they had retreated to a hidden corner of space. With no proof and no sight of them for centuries, the galaxy simply forgot. Humans became a myth, a story for children told by scholars who liked history. But on the far edge of the outer rim, something stirred. A lone vessel drifted from the darkness, its hull black as night and sharp as a blade. It did not send signals of trade. It did not respond to hails. The ship simply appeared, floating with purpose, yet wrapped in silence. At first, miners working near an asteroid belt noticed the silhouette. They thought it was a derelict, an old wreck drifting without life. Curious, a scout frigate moved closer. When its sensors scanned the vessel, confusion spread among the crew. The structure did not match any known design. The lines were angular, its armor dense beyond measure, and across the side was a script no one could read. The ship did not carry the mark of any empire. It was old yet alive. Power radiated from its engines, faint but steady, as if it waited. The scout captain sent the report back to his command. Within hours, rumors ran through the system. Some claimed it was a lost war machine from the age of the fallen empires. Others whispered of ghosts from forgotten wars. But a few old scholars, reading the unclear symbols captured in the scans, grew pale. They had seen this writing before, buried in ancient archives. They did not speak loudly, but the word formed on their lips human. News spread quickly, moving from one world to another. Many laughed. The idea of humans returning was foolish. They were gone, dust and memory. Yet the unease lingered. Why would a nameless warship sit so boldly in open space if it was empty? Why had its black hull resisted every scan, as if hiding its true power? The ship remained silent. Days passed. Traders began to avoid the sector, fearful of stories told in spaceports. The locals called it the ghost ship. Some swore it was watching. Others claimed it followed them with sensors unseen. The great empires finally took notice. The Karen Dominion, proud of its fleets, declared that no vessel could appear in their border without permission. To them, it was a matter of pride. They ordered a patrol group to investigate and, if needed, to seize or destroy the strange intruder. Commanders prepared their ships with ease, confident that a single vessel could never resist the power of their navy. While fleets moved, the lone ship stayed motionless. Its presence was enough to unsettle even the bravest captains. In the quiet of space, its hull seemed to breathe with the shadows. No one had yet heard its voice, but its silence was louder than words. For the galaxy, this was the calm before a storm no one expected. The balance of power was about to change. Legends thought buried in history were rising again. The day the lone warship appeared marked the beginning of something greater than trade, politics, or empire. It was the return of a species the galaxy had forgotten, a species that once made entire star systems tremble. And though no one admitted it yet, a quiet fear had already started to spread. The Karen Dominion was known for its pride and its fleets. Their admirals ruled the outer borders with discipline, believing no intruder could ever challenge their authority. When the strange black vessel appeared, the Council of the Dominion saw it as a test. They wanted to show strength. To them, it was simple. A lone ship meant weakness. They would capture it, study it, and then claim it as a trophy. A fleet of 7 warships moved toward the silent vessel. Their hulls glowed with red markings of the Dominion, and their engines roared with power. On the bridge of the lead ship, Admiral Sarek watched the target on his screen. His crew reported no response from the vessel. It simply drifted in space, as if asleep. Sarek smiled with confidence. To him, this was no battle but a simple task. "Open a channel," Sarek ordered. His voice carried pride, the pride of an empire that believed itself untouchable. The message was sent in every common language of the galaxy. "Unidentified ship, you are within the space of the Karen Dominion. Shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Refuse, and you will be destroyed." Silence answered. The crew waited for a reply, but none came. The strange ship remained still. Its black hull reflected nothing, as if it drank the light around it. Unease spread through the younger officers. But Sarek dismissed their fears. "Fire a warning shot," he commanded. One of the Dominion ships launched a bright pulse across the void, streaking past the black hull. The shot left no mark. The vessel did not move. For a moment, Sarek wondered if it was empty, nothing more than a drifting machine. He ordered the fleet to move closer. As the Dominion ships closed in, the silent vessel stirred. Its engines lit with a pale glow, slow and steady. Sensors screamed as they detected massive energy surging through its systems. The ship came alive. Before Sarek could react, the first strike came. It was not energy, not plasma, not anything the Dominion had seen before. A solid kinetic slug tore through space faster than light could touch it. It pierced the nearest Dominion cruiser straight through, splitting the ship in half. The wreck spun into fire before the crew understood they were dead. "Shields up! Return fire," Sarek roared. Lances of plasma and arcs of ion beams hammered against the black ship. Explosions burst across the void, yet when the smoke cleared, the vessel remained untouched. Its armor drank the fire, unbroken. Then came the second strike. Another Dominion ship was ripped apart, its hull split into fragments. Panic spread through the fleet. Officers shouted reports, and Sarek felt the weight of fear for the first time. "Form defensive pattern. Surround it. Do not let it escape," he ordered. But the strange ship did not try to escape. It moved forward with terrifying calm. Each weapon fired with precision. No shot was wasted. Every impact destroyed. Within minutes, 4 more Dominion ships were gone. The last survivor tried to flee, engines burning bright, but the black ship tracked it. A beam of focused energy lanced through the fleeing vessel, leaving nothing but drifting metal. Admiral Sarek's flagship was the last. His bridge filled with smoke and sparks as alarms wailed. The crew looked to him for guidance, but his confidence was gone. On the screen, the enemy ship loomed closer, silent and steady. It had destroyed an entire fleet as if swatting flies. Sarek gave one last order, his voice heavy. "Send a distress call. Tell the Council. Tell them what we faced." The signal was sent. Across the galaxy, receivers caught fragments of the desperate message before static consumed it. And then, in the deep silence of space, the Karen flagship was cut in two. The black ship drifted on, its engines glowing faintly. It had not chased glory. It had not declared victory. It simply moved forward, leaving ruin behind. When the story spread, whispers began to grow. Traders repeated it in spaceports. Miners spoke of it near fires. Scholars wrote of it in their journals. A single word returned from forgotten memory: human. The galaxy had not believed in them for centuries. But now, a lone human warship had appeared. And with it came the first taste of fear. The destruction of the Karen patrol fleet shook the nearby sectors. At first, many refused to believe the reports. Admirals of other empires laughed, claiming the Dominion had exaggerated the battle to excuse failure. But the distress call recorded by Admiral Sarek's ship could not be denied. The signal showed clear words: panic, fear, and a warning of an unknown vessel that tore through warships like paper. On neutral stations, the story spread like wildfire. Merchants whispered of a black vessel that hunted fleets. Miners swore it drifted like a ghost, striking without mercy. Some claimed it was not real at all, only a tale to frighten children. Yet, wherever the rumor traveled, silence always followed. No one truly laughed for long. The first real proof arrived days later. A research ship from the neutral Riddle Union discovered the wrecks of the Dominion fleet. The twisted metal floated in space, broken beyond repair. Massive holes cut cleanly through the armored hulls showed a precision no known weapon could achieve. When the researchers recorded the wreckage, one detail froze them. Across a surviving fragment of hull from the black vessel, they captured a clear marking in white paint. The script was strange to them, but their archives helped unlock the meaning. One word glared back: resolute. The riddle scholars debated the word with care. It was not a Dominion mark, nor one of the empires. It matched only ancient fragments from human records. For centuries, scholars had studied those old files, describing humans as fierce, stubborn, and unyielding. To them, the word fit perfectly. Resolute was not just a name. It was a warning. The discovery reached every corner of the galaxy. Fleets read the report with unease. Leaders gathered in secret councils. Traders whispered more than ever in spaceport halls. The galaxy had laughed at the idea of humans returning, but now a vessel bore their language, their mark, and their power. In the central archive of the Galactic Council, an aged historian named Marek searched through sealed records. Dust covered the files, untouched for generations. His hands shook as he pulled out ancient writings. They described the human wars, battles long forgotten by living memory. Humans had once stood against entire empires at once. Outnumbered, outgunned, yet never broken. Marek read of worlds turned to ash, of fleets crushed by human persistence. The archives had buried the truth under the excuse of myth. But the Resolute proved it was no myth. Across empires, unease grew. Was this one ship the last survivor of a forgotten fleet, or was it only the first? The possibility was enough to chill even the boldest rulers. For the Karen Dominion, humiliation burned deepest. They had lost 7 ships to 1. Their pride was shattered. And yet, fear held them back from immediate retaliation. They did not want to face another disaster. On trading routes, captains began changing their paths, avoiding the outer rim. Insurance costs rose as merchants refused to sail near the haunted zone. Some captains swore they had seen the black ship watching from afar. They described it as silent, never answering calls, only watching with unseen eyes. In private, some species began to wonder if the return of humans was a curse or a blessing. The galaxy was ruled by stagnant empires that cared little for the weak. Perhaps humanity, fierce as their legends claimed, would shake that order. Perhaps they would bring freedom. Others only saw danger. They feared that if more human warships existed, no empire would survive their return. The Resolute itself gave no answer. It did not claim territory. It did not send messages. It drifted from system to system like a shadow, quiet and watchful. To some, this silence was more frightening than open threats. On the council floor, voices rose in heated argument. Some wanted to unite against the threat. Others argued that humans might be reasoned with. A few doubted still, claiming the ship was only an automated relic with no real crew. But none could deny one truth. The name Resolute was real. The ship was real. The fear was real. And in the quiet of his archive, historian Marek whispered the words to himself as he looked at the stars. They are back. The humans are back. And the galaxy will never be the same. The word Resolute carried across every council chamber in the galaxy. It was spoken in whispers in marketplaces, repeated in fear by pilots, and studied with unease by scholars. The name alone had begun to shift the balance of power. One ship had shattered a Dominion fleet. One ship had been linked to the forgotten species called humans. The Galactic Council, a gathering of the largest empires and neutral powers, could not ignore the growing storm. On the shining capital station of Delira, ambassadors and admirals met in the Grand Chamber. Their banners of power hung high, but the air was heavy with worry. No empire wanted to show weakness, yet all carried the same fear. Ambassador Carell of the Dominion stood first, his voice sharp. This is an outrage. The Dominion has lost brave warriors to a nameless vessel. We cannot allow this ship to wander freely. If it is human, then humans have declared war by action. Across the chamber, the tall figure of Chancellor Varin of the Riddle Union shook his head. We do not know its intent. The vessel did not seek territory. It did not broadcast threats. It only responded when attacked. Perhaps it seeks contact. The debate split the chamber. Some argued for caution, others demanded strength. The smaller races feared being caught in a storm between giants. Old memories stirred. For centuries the galaxy had thrived under fragile peace, but this new force threatened to break it. At last, the High Speaker of the Council raised her voice. The galaxy cannot live in fear of one ship. We must learn the truth. If it is a threat, we will end it. If it seeks peace, we will know. But silence cannot continue. After hours of tense debate, the Council agreed to a gamble. They would send fleets, not one empires alone but a union of many, to confront the vessel. This would show strength, unity, and control. 3 battle groups, each from a different power, would join as one armada. Together, they would demand surrender or destroy the ship. News of the decision spread quickly. In the hangars of the Dominion, crews prepared with grim faces. In the shipyards of the Union, engineers whispered of the danger. Even the distant empire of the Solari sent their shining cruisers, eager to show they could not be ignored. The Alliance called it a mission of balance. The common people called it a mission of fear. Meanwhile, the Resolute drifted in silence. It moved across the border of forgotten systems, its engines steady, its black hull gleaming against the stars. It did not know of the Council's vote, nor did it change its path. Like a shadow, it kept moving, watched by scouts too afraid to draw close. Admiral the Rose, chosen to lead the Alliance fleet, studied the reports with a calm mask. He was no fool. He had seen the wrecks left behind by the Dominion defeat. He understood the danger. But he also carried the weight of expectation. To him, retreat without action would stain the galaxy with weakness. He believed strength alone could keep order. When the three fleets met at the edge of the outer rim, the sight was grand. Dozens of cruisers and destroyers floated in formation. Their hulls shone with banners of many powers, united in purpose. The combined fleet was larger than most empires used for war. To any normal foe, it would have been unstoppable. The order was given. They would move as one and confront the black vessel. On distant worlds, citizens gathered around broadcasts. Scholars held their breath. Traders closed their routes. Everyone waited for the outcome of the gamble. Would the alliance prove humanity's return was only myth, or would it awaken a truth that had been buried for centuries? Far away, the Resolute turned slightly, adjusting its course. Its sensors detected the growing presence of the fleet. Its engines brightened, and deep within its dark hull, systems began to stir. The gamble had begun. The Allied fleet moved through the outer rim with confidence. Their engines blazed against the darkness, forming lines of light across the void. In every vessel, crews stood ready, their voices steady though their hearts carried unease. They had gathered more than 30 ships, a force meant to crush any threat. Against one vessel, their strength seemed overwhelming. Admiral the Rose stood on the bridge of the lead cruiser, the Vanguard. His eyes were fixed on the screen, where the silent black ship appeared at the edge of sensor range. It did not flee, nor did it hide. The vessel drifted calmly, its engines glowing faintly. To the Rose, this was arrogance. He lifted his chin and spoke with command. Transmit our demand. The ship will surrender, or it will be destroyed. The message echoed across the void, spoken in every known language. But the answer was only silence. The ship did not respond. Its black hull reflected the starlight like a shadow that had taken form. Form attack formation, the Rose ordered. His voice was firm, but deep inside, he felt the weight of history pressing on him. The fleet spread out, surrounding the vessel from every side. Their weapons warmed, energy glowing across their hulls. To the watching galaxy, the balance seemed clear. One ship could never stand against an armada. Then the Resolute moved. Its engines flared, and in a blink, it crossed the distance, faster than their targeting systems could follow. The first strike came with a soundless flash. A kinetic slug ripped through space, tearing apart a Solari destroyer before its shields even rose. The wreck split into pieces, drifting like broken glass. The fleet fired back, beams and plasma lances filling the dark with light. Explosions lit the void in a storm of color. But when the fire cleared, the Resolute remained. Its armor carried scars but no weakness. It turned with deadly precision, unleashing a second strike. Another cruiser fell, then another. Panic spread through the Alliance ships. Officers shouted over alarms, trying to lock targets on a foe that moved like no ship they had ever faced. The Resolute did not fight with speed alone. Its weapons struck with purpose, each shot destroying, each move calculated. Admiral the Rose gripped the edge of his console. Do not break formation. Focus fire. We outnumber it. But numbers meant nothing. The black vessel weaved through their lines, cutting ships apart as if it knew every tactic before it was used. Entire wings of fighters launched to intercept, yet they vanished in bursts of light, swept aside by weapons no archive had recorded. The battle turned into chaos. Ships collided as captains tried to retreat. Fire and wreckage spread across the field. The Alliance fleet, built with pride and confidence, was breaking. On distant worlds, watchers listened to the open broadcasts of the battle. Static mixed with desperate voices. They heard calls for aid, screams of officers, and then silence as ships vanished. The people of the galaxy understood in that moment what the Dominion already knew. The human vessel was no ghost. It was power alive. Back on the bridge of the Vanguard, the Rose made his choice. His fleet was dying. The Resolute loomed before him, unshaken, its weapons glowing with energy. He gave the order that no admiral wished to give. Transmit all records to the Council. Let the galaxy see. If we fall, they must know what we faced. The data raced across subspace, carrying proof of the battle. Ships burned, fleets crumbled, and through it all, the Resolute remained, cutting its way through with calm precision. One by one, the last ships of the Alliance fell. The void grew quiet again, filled only with drifting wrecks and the glow of fire. The Resolute slowed, its engines dimming once more. It did not chase the survivors, nor did it claim the battlefield. It simply drifted forward, continuing its path through the stars. The battle that was meant to bring peace had instead brought fear. The Alliance's gamble had failed. The galaxy now knew the truth. One human warship had stood against an armada, and it had not been defeated. And in the silence that followed, every world asked the same question. If one ship could do this, what would happen when the others came? The ruins of the Alliance fleet floated in the outer rim like broken monuments. Wreckage glimmered against the stars, silent reminders of the battle that was meant to end fear but instead spread it further. Across the galaxy, the recordings sent by Admiral the Rose reached council chambers, trading halls, and even the poorest outposts. Every being who watched the images saw the same truth. Dozens of ships had fallen, yet one vessel remained. The Resolute had not hidden its power. It had shown the galaxy what it could do. And now the galaxy trembled. For days, rumors multiplied. Some said the ship was crewed by machines, others believed a forgotten empire controlled it, while the boldest whispered the word many feared to say aloud: human. Then, without warning, the silence ended. Every communication channel across the rim burst alive with a single broadcast. It was not encrypted. It was not limited to one frequency. The voice spread everywhere at once, reaching fleets, stations, and colonies alike. This is the warship Resolute. This is humanity. The voice was strong, calm, and carried weight far beyond the words. Listeners froze as the message continued. We have returned to the stars. We remember what was done to us. We remember the betrayals, the wars, the silence forced upon us. We did not vanish. We endured. And now, we are here. In council chambers, leaders leaned forward, their faces pale. In markets, traders fell silent, forgetting the clatter of their goods. Children stopped playing to listen. The voice seemed to speak not only to their ears but to their fears. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to rule. But if you stand against us, you will fall. If you strike us, we will strike harder. If you betray us, we will not forgive. The words echoed across the void. No one could block them, no one could silence them. The broadcast continued, steady and firm. We have not forgotten who we are. We are human. And the galaxy will remember us. The message ended, leaving every world in silence. For a moment, it seemed the stars themselves had paused to listen. In the following hours, reactions swept through every empire. On border worlds ruled by fear, small colonies cheered. They saw hope in the return of a people who had once stood against mighty foes. On great capital planets, rulers met in secret, their councils filled with whispers of war and diplomacy. Some demanded preparation for conflict, while others feared that resistance would only bring destruction. In the Karen Dominion, shame burned deepest. They had been the first to face the ship, the first to lose, and now the first to be named in history's cruel reminder. The Dominion vowed revenge, but their fleets moved slower than their words. Pride clashed with fear, and fear was winning. In the Riddle Union, scholars argued that humanity's return could bring balance. Perhaps they are not our enemy, one counselor spoke. Perhaps they will challenge the empires that grow fat while smaller worlds suffer. Others dismissed the idea, warning that humans would only bring fire. And through it all, the Resolute moved onward, never pausing, never claiming. It sent no further threats, only silence. Yet silence itself was now a weapon, heavier than fleets, sharper than blades. On a lonely outpost near the rim, historian Marek listened to the recording again and again. He had studied humans all his life, believing their stories were myths. Now he knew the truth. He wrote in his journal, his hand shaking. This is not the end of fear. This is the beginning of a new age. The age of humanity. The galaxy did not know where the Resolute would go next, nor if more ships would follow. But the message had already done what no weapon could. It planted a seed in every mind, a memory that could not be erased. Humanity had spoken. Humanity had returned. And the stars, for the first time in centuries, no longer felt safe. The voice of the Resolute lingered in every corner of the galaxy. Long after the transmission ended, its words were repeated in markets, on warships, and even in classrooms. Humanity had spoken, and no empire could pretend it was only a myth anymore. The silence that followed was heavier than any weapon, because it carried the weight of choice. The galaxy now had to decide how to respond. In the halls of power, rulers argued. Some leaders called for peace, hoping to send envoys to speak with the mysterious ship. Others demanded the building of larger fleets, determined to fight before humans grew stronger. Yet none dared to make the first move. Every admiral who had studied the wreckage of the Alliance fleet understood the truth. A direct war against humanity would not end with victory. On border colonies, hope rose like fire. The small worlds that had lived under heavy taxes and the cruelty of stronger empires whispered of freedom. They spoke of humanity as a force that might stand for them when no one else had. Farmers, miners, and traders repeated the word Resolute like a promise. To them, the ship was not a threat. It was a shield, even if humanity had not declared itself their ally. But in the great capitals, fear spread deeper. The Karen Dominion prepared its fleets with grim determination, though many officers remembered how quickly their ships had fallen. The Solari, who had sent their shining cruisers into the failed alliance, tightened their borders, unwilling to risk another defeat. Even the neutral Riddle Union felt the tremor of uncertainty, torn between fear and curiosity. The galaxy had lived in balance for centuries, but balance built on fear and control. The Resolute had shattered that balance without claiming a single world. Meanwhile, the ship itself moved quietly from one system to another. It did not attack unprovoked. It did not demand tribute. It only drifted, as if searching for something beyond the reach of others. To many, this silence was more unsettling than open war. What did the humans want? Why had they returned now? On a remote council station, debates burned hotter than ever. "We must strike before they grow stronger," shouted one ambassador. "They will not stop with one ship." Another voice rose in reply. "Strike again and you will lose again." Perhaps this is not conquest. Perhaps they seek respect, not rule. No answer satisfied the chamber. The galaxy was divided. On a small outpost at the edge of the rim, historian Marek watched the stars. His journal was filled with notes, sketches of the black vessel, and quotes from the broadcast. He believed the meaning was clear. "This is not only a warship," he wrote. "It is a message. The humans are not hiding. They are showing the galaxy that they have endured. They want us to remember who they are. They want us to know they will never be broken." As days turned into weeks, sightings of the Resolute continued. Scouts reported its presence near old ruins of forgotten wars. Merchants claimed they saw it pass in silence near their routes. Always watching, always waiting. Never conquered, never gone. For the ordinary people of the galaxy, the myth of humanity was alive again. Some feared it. Some embraced it. But none could ignore it. And deep within the black hull of the Resolute, unseen by the galaxy, the humans themselves stood watch. They had not spoken again since their broadcast, but their silence carried meaning. They were not rushing to rule or to burn. They were patient. They were waiting for the galaxy to reveal its true nature. The age of false peace was ending. The age of humanity was beginning. And every empire, every fleet, every world now carried the same question in their hearts. If one human ship could change the galaxy with its presence, what would happen when the others arrived?